Nigel Farage, the outspoken leader of Reform UK, has launched a blistering attack on Prime Minister Keir Starmer, accusing him of making a series of blunders that expose Labour's incompetence and out-of-touch policies. Farage, known for his provocative and often controversial statements, didn't hold back as he highlighted three critical decisions made by Starmer that he believes showcase the Prime Minister's true colours, and they're not pretty. In a storm of social media posts and interviews, Farage pointed to three significant decisions made by Starmer's Labour government since coming to power, all of which are raising serious questions about the leadership of the country. Farage claims these missteps are not only damaging the UK's international standing, but also alienating the very voters Labour needs to survive in the next election. But before we get into the gritty details of the controversy, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated with the latest explosive political news and scandals. You won't want to miss a single twist in this ever-developing story. Let's break it down. Farage's first criticism focuses on Labour's decision to surrender sovereignty over the Chagos Islands, a strategically important archipelago in the Indian Ocean. For over 5 decades, the UK has maintained control over the islands, which include the vital military base at Diego Garcia. However, in a move that shocked many in the defence and diplomatic sectors, Starmer's government agreed to hand the islands back to Mauritius in exchange for maintaining military operations at Diego Garcia in cooperation with the US. Starmer, in typical fashion, tried to downplay the decision, claiming the primary concern was securing the future of the military base, which he insists is hugely important to both the US and the UK. However, Farage was quick to fire back, accusing Starmer of selling out British interests and jeopardising national security. "This was a terrible decision," Farage tweeted. "Surrendering the Chagos Islands to Mauritius is not only a strategic blunder, but a clear indication of Labour's weakness on the global stage." And Farage isn't alone in his criticism. Many foreign policy experts have questioned the wisdom of relinquishing control over the islands, suggesting that it could embolden other nations to challenge Britain's territorial claims. As one defence analyst put it, "This sends a dangerous message to the world that Britain is willing to give up sovereignty under pressure. It undermines our global influence." But this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Farage's indictment of Keir Starmer. The second scandal revolves around Labour's baffling decision to send almost 100 of its own party staff to the United States to campaign for Vice President Kamala Harris in the upcoming US elections. Yes, you read that right. British political staffers being deployed to help a foreign campaign. If it sounds bizarre, that's because it is. Labour's head of operations proudly announced on social media that party staff would be heading to key battleground states like North Carolina, Nevada, and Pennsylvania to assist in Harris's re-election bid. "I have nearly 100 Labour Party staff, current and former, going to the US in the next few weeks," they boasted. But the real kicker: this move could have serious diplomatic repercussions for the UK if Donald Trump wins the presidency again in 2024. Farage wasted no time calling out the absurdity of this decision. "Why on earth is the UK Labour Party sending its staff to campaign for Harris in the US?" he exclaimed. "This is not only a waste of resources, but also an insult to the incoming Trump administration, should he win. What kind of message are we sending to one of our closest allies?" Trump himself didn't take kindly to the news either. His campaign has already filed a federal complaint accusing Labour of illegal foreign campaign contributions and interference in our elections. With Labour now entangled in an international political scandal, many are questioning Starmer's judgment and his ability to maintain a positive relationship with the US if Trump takes the White House again. Adding fuel to the fire, Farage pointed out the absurdity of the situation. Keir Starmer has already insulted the incoming Trump administration. If Trump wins, Labour's decision to meddle in US politics could backfire massively on Britain. "Starmer is gambling with our international relationships," he warned. But if that wasn't enough, Starmer's government is also facing intense backlash over its proposed smoking ban, a policy that many see as the latest in a string of nanny state measures that threaten to alienate Labour's core voter base. The ban would prohibit smoking not just indoors, but also outdoors in certain public spaces like pubs and football stadiums. While the government claims the move is aimed at creating a smoke-free generation, it's drawing fierce criticism from voters and business owners alike. Farage, a self-described champion of personal freedom, has seized on the growing discontent, calling Labour's plan insane and warning that it could devastate the hospitality industry. This smoking ban is the perfect example of Labour's out-of-touch policies. They are penalising hard-working Brits for enjoying a cigarette outside a pub. It's paternalistic, it's snobbish, and it's driving voters insane, Farage said. And it's not just Farage who's capitalising on this outrage. Polls suggest that the smoking ban could significantly hurt Labour's support in key battleground areas, particularly in former Red Wall constituencies where smoking rates are higher than the national average. According to a recent Yonder poll, 48% of respondents believe smokers should be allowed to continue lighting up outside pubs, while only 43% support Labour's ban. Farage has been quick to point out the political opportunity this presents for Reform UK. This is a once-in-a-generation chance to break the two-party system, a former Reform UK insider told GB News. Labour is so out of touch with its voters that they're handing Farage the keys to success, penalising people for smoking, drinking or eating fast food. These are the kinds of snobbish policies that are pushing voters straight into Reform's arms. As public anger mounts, Farage's message of personal freedom and resistance to government overreach is resonating with disaffected voters who feel Labour has lost touch with their concerns. And with the next general election looming, the question remains, can Labour hold on to its traditional base, or has Keir Starmer's leadership opened the door for a populist resurgence? But that's not all. On the law and order front, Starmer's government is facing yet another crisis. Labour MP Kim Johnson recently sparked outrage in Parliament after accusing the media of using racist gang tropes in their reporting on Chris Carber, a known gang member shot by police in 2022. Johnson's comments have drawn widespread criticism, with many arguing that Labour is more concerned with protecting criminals than addressing the real issues facing communities plagued by gang violence. Farage has seized on this controversy as well, claiming that Labour is completely out of touch when it comes to law and order. Keir Starmer's Labour Party is more concerned with protecting criminals and appeasing radical activists than standing up for victims and law-abiding citizens, Farage declared. This is a disgraceful example of how Labour's priorities are completely wrong. As Farage continues to hammer Labour on all fronts, from foreign diplomacy blunders to out-of-touch domestic policies, it's clear that Starmer's honeymoon period as Prime Minister is well and truly over. Farage's attacks are gaining traction, and with Reform UK rising in the polls, the stakes for Labour couldn't be higher. So what do you think? Is Keir Starmer losing control of his party and alienating voters with reckless decisions? Can Labour recover from these mounting scandals, or are we witnessing the beginning of the end for Starmer's leadership? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss the latest updates in this political saga. With Nigel Farage leading the charge and Labour on the defensive, this is one story you won't want to take your eyes off.